Greetings, everyone. Fru here. Welcome. Today is a beautiful day, and I am excited for the demo, for the tutorial, for the session, for the lecture we're going to have today. This will be a fun one. This will be a live demo and recording. I think this will really be cool. We're going to be talking about Claude. We're going to be talking about AI. We're going to talk about the current workflow I'm using. But more importantly, we're going to try to build something live. So I'm hoping at the end of this, you're going to see a live application of the concept we've talked about. And this will be cool. If possible, I'm going to leave timestamps as we go. If not, I would just really recommend you watch it to the end. This is fun. I'm not going to do editing. I'm not going to do retakes. This will just be live because I think with AI, we're all going to experience this as we go. Claude announced the Claude code on the web, which is a very fascinating announcement from Claude. I'm a big fan of Claude. I use them quite a bit. So I'll talk about how to take advantage of this. I'll go through the demo to build a mobile application using my phone, which I think will be cool. And then we'll see how we deploy that at the very end. Buckle up. This is the announcement. Now, if you're not using Claude, I would say it's really powerful. I'm a big fan of Claude, but this tutorial isn't to do an ABC of Claude, right? I assume everybody should know that. The specific of what we're going to talk about here is Claude for the web. And just using Claude for the web, and if you go actually Claude code for the web, if you go to your existing Claude, you can see code here. Most people would have used this from the CLI, but having this option to go on the web like I did, it opens up a new browser here. And this is essentially what the Claude code for the web looks like. It's a web browser interface. And if you've vibe coded in any capacity, this will be very familiar to you. And I love this. As I was playing with this morning, I love this little design artifact here just running away from my mouse. But this is what it is. You come in, typical with AI infrastructures, you have an interface in here for you to put in a prompt. I want to build an app. And you can essentially go in and build your app. And that's what it is. So you come in, you can increase the size, put in your prompt, go in, build your app. Now, here's what's interesting. If all we did was to come in here and build an app, I feel like we will be missing a lot of things. So let me come in here. If you go on this drop down, you will be able to connect this to your GitHub repo. I have dozens of applications I've built, and some of these are heavily used, thousands of users. These are microservice applications I've built and deployed in the wild. And some of them are just experiments that after a few weeks or so, I retire them, but it's always good for learning. So if you connect your GitHub, which I use quite a bit, to Claude Code, you can see all your projects. And what this gives you the ability to is to essentially pick a project like this, FD Apps Acquisitions, which is one of my projects. And if you want to see what that project is, let's go back over to fru.dev and acquisitions. It's on the website. This is essentially what it is. I am just tracking acquisitions of companies, put a quick UI on it, and I have it publicly available. Believe it or not, this application, people do use it a lot. I get a lot of hits on this website based on the telemetry behind the scenes. But again, this is something that SaaS or micro, I call it the micro SaaS, allows us to do when you can vibe code and build things like this and then deploy that. So this is the application. It lives in my GitHub repo. And if I go to my GitHub, I do have quite a bit of repos, just to give you an idea, quite a bit of repos available for the different micro SaaS applications I've built over the years. And acquisitions, this is essentially what we are looking at here in my repo. And the big theme of this is whenever I want to build an application, I would think first of creating the GitHub repo. Once I have the GitHub repo, now I can use your coding tools like Claude as an example to now interact with that application. And so GitHub becomes an important, extremely important, I cannot emphasize this enough, aspect of using generative AI for development. So here, I wouldn't build this app again, but I can ask it to explain this app for me. Now, while this is going through, because I've selected the repo here, now Claude Code for web essentially can come in, read my repo. It will take a while. You can understand it, and it would explain this for me. If I wanted to go ahead and essentially add new features, new capabilities to update this application, now Claude Code for the web gives me the capabilities to do that. And so if you're asking, why is it interesting that Anthropic is releasing Claude Code for the web and how can you use it? This is essentially what it is. Now I no longer need a browser. I no longer need an IDE. I no longer need maybe a physical computer for all we know. If you just have a web browser and Cloud Code for the web, you can now interact and vibe code and build your applications. And this is really the power of it. Now, once you're done, everything is version control. Everything is going into Git. And this is how I would use this. Traditionally, I will use Cresol. And Cresol is and this is a Cresol UI, is my go-to development environment. Traditionally, I will use Cresol to develop. I will use the Cresol models, or I will use Cloud Code, CLI. But now you have the option of doing that in the web, and you can just simply prompt to a GitHub repo, add features, do PR requests, all the things that you would want to do from a development perspective. You can now do it in the Cloud Code for the web. And that's why this is so cool. Change your models and off you go developing. Now, here is where I think this is all really cool. For those who have followed me for any amount of time, you know, my development tool for vibe coding has been Bold. And I think I've made demos around this. And there are so many of this out there. There's Base44, there's Lovable, you name it. Google has theirs. GitHub has the Spark. Everybody has a vibe coding tool now. For me, I've always used Bold. I enjoyed it, and I just have that inertia with it. So I just tend to use it more often. I've built a lot of my apps with Bold. So here in Bold, you can come in and say, hey, I want to build an app, and then go off to building that app. And what I love about Bold is once you build that app, again, you can push it into Git. Just going back, and I'm building to a central theme here. Hopefully you can follow along with me. It is a central core of everything that happens. So once I have a Git repo, I can come in now with Cloud Code and make changes, add features, update this application from Cloud Code. Now, Claude does not have a monopoly on innovation. They don't have a monopoly on the AI models. And so for someone like me who I do what I call the model arbitrage. I want to find the best, cheapest, fastest model. And depending on which one gives that to me, I will use it. So if it's Gemini, if it's Claude, if it's OpenAI, if it's somebody else, I will take my development to that model and take advantage of it. And the way I can achieve that is essentially having everything back in Git. Once I have this Git repo, I can connect to Cloud Code, I can connect to Bold, I can connect to Cresol, I can connect to Codex, you name it, I can connect to any of those models and work. So that's essentially what my flow is. Now, let's say for the sake of this, I'm going to go back to my repo here in Git. Let's open up this temp repo. So I just created this temp repo. It's essentially empty. And this is where we're going to do, I promise we're going to do a live development with this, because if I'm just talking and showcasing stuff without doing actual demos, it might not be as helpful. And this channel is essentially called the Demo Hub. So the goal for this is to just demos and not just talk. We're going to do that real demo here. So let's call this FD mobile app. Now, I really did not think about this. What I want to achieve is to build an application end to end that allows me to track books I have read. And I'm just making this up. I love reading. So let's build an app that allows me to track the books I have read and see how easy it is to do. Now, you might say, let's just go into Cloud Code and do that. But I want to do something even more interesting. And this will be another aspect to this demo. So I'll come in here. Let's pick, I'll see if I have, does it show up here? Doesn't show up here. I'm looking for mobile app. Oh, there you go. So this is what I'm looking for. So this is the repo. Remember, we have this repo here, and the repo is essentially empty. So I want to build this app from this repo. Now, the repo, I created it just a second ago. Let me close this so we can focus on this particular repo. This particular repo, mobile app temp, is an empty repo. There's nothing. I just created it. It's literally blank. So two things we can do. I can go locally and open up that repo and begin making changes or building this application to track our books with Cresol. So I can come in here and start typing and asking Cresol to build that. That's one way to do it. Okay. And this is where flexibility really comes. If I don't want that, I can go back over here. I can go to Bold, and with Bold, let's do this. I can grab this URL and come into Bold and say, hey, I want to do some development, but I want you to Let's import it from the URL. I want to work with this repo. It's not finding my repo. Cannot find the brand. Okay, this is empty. I think we'll come back to this and fix it. But you will see how bouncing from both, from Cresol, from Codex, from Claude, you can really arbitrage these models to the nth degree. And that's what we're hopefully going to showcase here in a second. So just bear with me as we build this up. Now, let's actually build that app. I think enough said. Let's go in here. Here is something that is very beautiful about Claude, and the fact that it does have a mobile application with the Claude code for web. I would be taking advantage of this as much as possible. So if you come in, click on code, and it does give you this experience. You can click on the new section, and here go in, choose your repo. So let's call it, what did we call mobile? Choose your sessions. It does say install Claude GitHub app. I think I already have that installed. I'm going to go in, log into my GitHub. So with that said, let's actually see how to put all of this together using the Claude mobile application. Now, if you don't use the Claude on the mobile, I would highly recommend. This is something that essentially... So with that said, we now have several options of building this application, but I don't want to do it the basic way. I don't want to come in here and essentially type and prompt for this app to be built. I want to try something a little bit different, a little bit more creative. So let's go over to my mobile, and here is my phone, essentially getting mirrored over here. I do have Claude, the application installed. So this is just the basic app you install from the App Store. So let's open this up, and this now gives us the ability. Let me go back here in a second. If you open this up for the very first time, you have the option here on the mobile to either do your chats, and I'm not chatting here, projects. I have quite a bit of projects, or code. So I will do the code. I can click on new session. This opens up a new session for me. You can choose your repo. And now I'm going to choose the repo, which we just were talking about. And what's the repo? This is the mobile app. It's a blank repo, nothing in there just yet, as we discussed. So let's go in and do a demo and search for that repo. That's not it. Let's see if I can find the repo somewhere here. Quite a bit of repos. Mobile app. Okay. So that is the repo I want. Now, from the mobile experience, so this is how you can essentially take development with you on the fly. So this is me now from my mobile phone. This is you from your mobile phone. So what I'm going to do now is say, hey, I want to, and I wish there is a voice input here because that's much better. It takes away the latency of me typing, but just bear with me for doing this. I want to build an app to track the books I read. I read non-fiction and inspirational books. Think hard. Design this app for me to be mobile first and deployed Netlify as an example. Let's just say Netlify. All right. So this is just it. I can go on and on with a better interface to essentially build my app. But imagine what is not possible. You are completely detached from your IDE. You can be in a bus on the way to your job, and now you have the power to do development. If this doesn't blow your mind, I really don't know what will. So now it's working. It'll probably take a few seconds here. And while this is thinking and doing the development, because this is tied to my Git repo, it now gives me that flexibility. So it's cloning the repo, it's spinning up the environment. This is all happening in the cloud. I don't need a desktop for this. I just need my mobile phone for this. Now, let me enable notifications here. So it's going to send me a notification once this is done. Sometimes this might take 15, 20, 30 minutes or so. Let's switch over, and I'll come back here in a second. Let's switch back to this. So I wouldn't, I think I have quite a bit of tabs here. Let's be very sure. Let me close this. I'm going to keep just this. So I'm not doing any changes in here just now. But watch what's happening. Because I am on the mobile app temp repo, you can see an agent has been spawned this session, and this agent is working. And if I want, I can now have another parallel agent working to say, spin up another session to focus on the SEO for this application. Give me specific recommendations. So now I have this agent running on the mobile, initiated from the mobile, and I'm going to initiate another agent here from the desktop, which is where I am on the desktop. So now it's going out and it's spinning up another session. It's fetching that same repo, and this is working. Now, when we talk about this idea of you will have agents, not just one or two agents working for you, you would have hundreds of agents potentially working for you as an individual or as a company. This is what it actually means in practice. Okay. Again, going back, I have this agent working for me on my mobile, and it's still designing the app. It's creating the branch. It's creating a book tracker app in here. It's working. Is it done? Nope, it's not. It's creating a to-do list. It's going to use React and Vite and TypeScript. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. And these agents have been really good at this things of being able to create a checklist and then just work up the checklist as such. So create a data model, add a sample book, and test the application. So I like this. And can I see what's happening on while this agent is working on the session for SEO? Because if you're going to build an app, then we're going to deploy this app. It's a good idea to have some good SEO. Trust me, I have built dozens of these apps and I know how that tends to work. Now I'm seeing the same stuff on my mobile experience also showing up here on the desktop experience. So install TypeScript, configuring Tailwind CSS. So these are all basic things that a typical project manager will have to manage. And this is now happening in here. All right. While this is working, because I wouldn't keep you guys just watching this write code, I'm guessing this will probably take about, 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so for it to all work. Let's just see how it's progressing here. So it's all the same stuff progressing. All right. So while this is working, what I want to check is at the same time, I could, because this is again the same repo, and this is why you gotta have to be careful. All right. This is the same repo. Now I am in Cresol. As you guys know, Cresol has for the longest time been my primary development operating system. I just spend a lot of time in Cresol. Everything is versioned in Git, and I love it. I can't speak highly of it. So coming in here, because I have that open, and I do have all my extensions here, like spec story to capture my prompt. So I can say, hey, get me the latest branch, the latest version of this from GitHub. I don't think any code has been committed yet, but I just want to grab that and pull it down. And this is where you're going to have to make sure that you're keeping everything in sync, because otherwise, if you're developing from 10 different areas, you might run into merge issues. So it's going to go fetch from the origin. There is just a default branch, and it should bring the remote repository is configured correctly, but it's empty. All right, so it's empty because nothing has been pushed there yet. So once we have this done and pushed, then we should be able to pull that in. Now I want to spin up another agent to, what can we do? I want to spin up another agent here to potentially do an email campaign about this new app we're building, right? So think about being a business. Think about being a CEO of a company. You're building this app. You're going to have to do email campaigns. You're building the website and all of that. Now, if I really wanted to, and I don't think that's a very relevant functionality, I can have another agent here working on that for me. Or I could go into Cresol and say something like, let's actually try this. I haven't tried this before. Assuming Cresol is really good, because again, I love Cresol. Let's say build a functionality in this repo that will me market this app. This should be an email newsletter service as part of the books. So every book I read, I can send weekly summaries. But something to watch out for. And unfortunately, because I'm recording, I can't get my audio input here. Otherwise, I will be talking into this. So just bear with me for doing the typing. I will also doing the slide. Something to watch out for. There are other agents working on this from Claude. All right. So because we're doing this live, it's a Sunday showcasing. Now, I am now in Cresol. I'm taking advantage of the Cresol agents, the Cresol models, and what Cresol is really good at. And I am also trying to build that same app at the same time. So I'm just simply telling it, look, I'm going to be committing code from Claude. I'm going to be committing code from Gemini. I'm going to be committing code from Codex. Just let it know. So when it's developing, it has that in mind. Let's see that. Now, I think it's going to be a nightmare trying to merge everything together, but this will be interesting to see. And once we're done with all of this, my goal, let's see how this is progressing. It's still writing, it's taking its time. My goal, implement a mobile first responsive design. That's fine. Test, notify. All right, perfect. Let's see from this side. This is also progressing. I think this seems to go a little bit faster before it shows on the web, on the mobile. But it's all the same stuff. So the SEO recommendation functionality is done. Let's go back in here. Okay. So this is the main thesis, the main thrust of this presentation today. Bear with me. I'll keep coming back to this. Let me see what this SEO agent has done. It's explore the repository. I've provided an SEO specific. If the code exists elsewhere, please provide. I want option two, just do a general SEO recommendations. And I like that it did clarify with the user. So that's good. This is my main agent. Is doing his thing, working on the book categories and building. Let's see, Claude is at the same time thinking. If again, I know I'm probably a broken record right now saying this, but imagine somebody in 2015, a developer, an engineer, an architect, having this kind of skill at their fingertips. It just wasn't possible. It just wasn't possible. 10 years, and we are in 2025, and one developer or engineer or designer or PM in the room can essentially do this. Have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 engineers working for them in different trades, solving problems at scale. This is the magic. All right, so I'm going to accept that. It's making the changes, and then I'll make sure to push that into Git and then merge it. Oh, I just have one branch. This is just an experiment here. Let's go back. Let's see. No one has committed just yet into this repo, so that's fine. I expect that when this is done, it will push into that branch and commit. Let's see what task is it at now. Okay, so testing the app and then committing the changes on my phone. Like I said, I think the phone is... And the reason for me showing this phone is just to inspire. It's just to say, look, we are going into a new paradigm and you don't have to be tied to your PC. You don't have to be tied to your PC. I think most people are walking around with very powerful iPhones, with very powerful phones in your pocket. This phone now can become a terminal for you to develop, to build applications, to debug, to troubleshoot. So it's doing the Git add. All right, that's good. This is going to be going to Git here pretty soon. I like it. At the same time, this one is working on my newsletter capability. I like that from Cresol. And initializing the branch into that GitHub repo. Remember, that's the repo we have. So developing from the mobile, developing from the desktop. That is good. Let me just double check. This is the fun part. Now we just have to sit around and wait. Oh, now this is something. This is gold. All right. I love this. All right. And you can actually click and deploy to Netlify. I use Netlify quite a bit for developing and hosting some of the applications. There are many options. I use many different ones, but Netlify tends to be interesting. I'm not saying it's the best. I just tend to have used it quite a bit. All right. Okay. I think we are done. Let's go in here and see on my mobile phone. Remember, I started this prompt on the mobile and said, I want to build a book tracking application. And this is it. All right. I think on the mobile, obviously, you wouldn't have NPM installed to run and deploy all of those. It's a little bit tricky. In that case, you might want to come back to your desktop again, depending on what you're building. So let's come back here to the desktop. That app is installed. So let's go over to GitHub. I have everything. Now you say, but Fru, I want to see the app that you build. You're doing all of this in the cloud. Show me the app that you build. If I go in here, it will be localhost, and obviously nothing will show because that's not my localhost. I can deploy that. I won't go through the deployment just now, but let's go through Bolt and try this one more time. You remember I said I love Bolt as my UI for my SaaS, micro SaaS development, or vibe coding as people will call it. So I'm gonna go here, go to GitLab and pick that repo as before, and then I'm gonna choose to import that repo. So I have stopped my work from Cresol. Cresol is still going. I have stopped the development from Claude code. If you go in here, this is Claude code. All the commits are done, and I've simply pushed to Git. Once everything is in Git, I'm coming to Bolt. I'm opening it up from Bolt, and voila, this is this application. So cool. Now, I think we could do better than this. I can now say, oh, I'm off. Unfortunately, I'm out of tokens here, and I wouldn't have time to get to get new tokens for this demo. But just assume that I had tokens. I can pick it up from here to say, make the UI way better and visually appealing. Use greenish accents, something like that. All right. If I had the tokens, unfortunately, I'm out of tokens and I'm not going to take care of that right now. I'll do that later. But assuming that I had that, I could essentially do that here. But if I don't, again, I have tokens for Claude. I'm just going to come in back here and say, hey, you know what? Let's actually do it on the mobile, right? Why not? Let's do it on the mobile side. I'm going to come into my mobile and say, make this more colorful, improve layout, and make it modern. Guys, if you're working with the phone in your pocket, you can now do something like this. And essentially just talking, you have an application, you have a website, and the website is down, you run into an error, move up, pick up your phone. Just literally, like I said, pick up your phone, open up the app like I did, just simply type into it. Oh, bear with me, I'm going to connect. I did pick up my phone and I shouldn't have done that. So just simply pick up your phone, talk to it, command the phone, put the phone to work. These phones are getting expensive, right? These phones are not cheap anymore. And if you're going to pay for these expensive phones, use it. Use it like I'm using it here. Let's go over back and see. So I did ask it to improve the design, the modern design. So this is working, it's improving the design. Now, while this is working, let's see what is happening here with on the Cresol side. Again, Cresol is working on the same project. It's done that. The service is ready to use and design. Let's say this was good. Now I just want to make sure. Here is another interesting thing. Let me call this out, because if I come in here, the way the project has been laid out, there's really no very good structure to it. On my cursor, I have a template on how I need the projects to be created. So there's documentation, there is source, there are test cases, and there's a service and all of that. So let me say push this to upstream. All right, this is not an important application, so I can break things and I think I'll be fine. But if this is a high-stake application, you'll be making sure you're very careful and using different branches and such. So 2,000 line of code. Wow, close to 2,000 line of codes, 23 files I've committed and been pushed to the Git repo. The repo is now up to date with that local branch. So let's come back to this repo here and let's make sure mobile app. I just want to make sure that's the correct one. Okay. Why is there no data folder? All right. Okay. So I think it did push to, there is a main branch. Oh, wow. All right. So just something to be aware of. I have the main branch, and I think Cloud did create its own branch. So I wasn't aware that's what would happen. All right, so let's see. Let's go back in here. It lines. It will take a few minutes. Let's just give it some time for this to finish this up, and then we'll see what the final app looks like. Unfortunately, this agent seems to take longer than I had the appetite for, so I went ahead and interrupted that. But I think the thesis still stays the same. Let's go back here, just see what this app is. Nothing has changed very much from the app. Do a refresh of that, close this. Let's see, we're looking at the same repo, and we should get that preview here. I want to make one last change, with the idea being, if you are not using mobiles to build, you are leaving a lot on the table. Go ahead and say, let's change colors of the hero to green. Just something simple. And that will be the prompt. And hopefully that should take in effect here. All right, I think we are getting a snack, probably because I'm out of both tokens and I'm bending on my heels and not upgrading right now for this demo. But hopefully you get the point. The paradigm is changing. The game is changing. If you're not developing with mobile, you are leaving a lot on the table. And I've demonstrated hands down how you can take advantage of the mobile experience, the very mobile phone in your pocket, to now become a full developer. You can troubleshoot issues on the fly. You can have 10 agents going to work while you are having dinner, while you are out for a run. This is the new paradigm we live in. Simply by pulling up your mobile phone, you can issue those commands. And Cloud Code for web, the power of this is it can work. It spins up these environments in the cloud. It works. It pushes that code to your Git repo. And if you have Git set up correctly, this can now deploy to Netlify. If you don't use the approach I use, you can bring it back to Bold, you can bring it to Cresol, you can bring it into any environment you work with. Kubernetes, Docker, you name it. However you choose to deploy your applications, you can now interact with it. GitHub at the center, and all these tools are interacting from the periphery. So hopefully this gives you inspiration. I'm going to try to do more of this. If this was good, I would highly recommend going down into the like button, give it. That's the only way you can tell YouTube that you enjoy this. Then I'll do more tutorials of this manner. But if you didn't get value out of it, of course, hopefully there'll be some other video on the channel that gives you value. But as always, this is Fru here with Demo Hub, having a great time here today, showcasing some new capabilities in the Claude environment. And thank you for watching and sticking to the end. As always, I will see you in the next demo.